Tonight we're having everybody's favorite meal, breakfast for dinner. And I didn't have time to film like I was hoping to, so I'm inviting you into my day. So I wanted to talk tonight about what is functional nutrition. And I figured makes sense, might as well cook with me while we talk about nutrition. So what are we having for dinner? We are making some waffles / pancakes with our mini waffle maker over here. And we've got our batch here, and then we're gonna add some chocolate chips. Shout out to Costco. Using coconut oil as our oil base. And tonight we're using Kodiak. The ingredients, I can recognize those, and that matters. So, what is functional nutrition? Functional nutrition is like a branch of functional medicine. So if you've heard of functional medicine, then you have kind of a sneak peek already into what functional nutrition is. If you have not, then let me explain. We've got Western medicine, traditional medicine that everybody thinks of when they hear of the word doctor. And then we have functional medicine. And they need to work in tandem. So it's not a rivalry here. There's a place and a time for both of them. Western medicine, more traditional doctors that you've probably heard of, they specialize in medication and surgeries. They are focused primarily on the symptom, the diagnosis, the protocol. And that's good and dandy sometimes. Functional medicine, their whole priority is looking at the root causes. Notice I say causes because hardly ever is there a single root cause. And that root cause kind of gets a buzzword around, at least in my circles. I notice it's kind of a buzzword. I'm curious what's happening in your circles and your algorithms and your communities. But at least in mine, root cause is kind of a buzzword. And so we need to clarify that there are more often than not like 90% of the time, I made up that statistic, but most of the time there is more than one root cause of any sort of sign, symptom, or diagnosis. And so that's what functional medicine looks at. They want to fix the issue, not just fix the presenting problem. Introduce functional nutrition, I was trained by Andrea Nakayama through Full Body Systems Functional Nutrition Alliance. Highly recommend looking into it, even if you're not interested in getting trained yourself. Like, figure out who she is. She's very smart. She, as far as I understand, is a functional medicine doctor, nutritionist, and her approach is to use narrative medicine, which is recognizing the impact that story has in someone's health, which makes a lot of sense to me as a marriage and family therapist. I care about story. So what are these root causes? Andrea explains it like it's the soil there's the soil, 3 roots, what is it? 3 roots, many branches. So the 3 roots or the soil are genetics, inflammation, and digestion. It's actually genetics, digestion, inflammation. It doesn't really matter the order. All 3 of those are considered the primary root causes, and everything else is a branch. So your migraines, that's a branch. Your diagnosis of anxiety, depression, ADHD, ADD, autism even, Hashimoto's, that's what she has, endometriosis, PCOS, menopause challenges, PMS, cycle pains, eczema, constipation, leaky gut, food intolerances, Crohn's, you get the picture. Everything else is a branch of the 3 root causes. And sometimes 1 or 2 of those root causes is the primary factor. Sometimes all 3 of them are present at the same time. And more often than not, all 3 of them are. Because all things are connected, all things matter, and everyone's unique. So when we think about how to address the 3 root causes, we're considering those 3 factors and principles all the time. So back to what is functional nutrition? All of this sounds like functional medicine, except the perspective that Andrea brings in about the 3 roots, many causes, and the analogy of the soil. And so that's nutrition and medicine, as far as I understand. I'm not a functional medicine doctor, so I can't necessarily speak to that, except for what I learned in this program. But functional nutrition believes in that, believes that 3 roots, many branches. And so as a functional nutrition counselor, my job is to look at the terrain. And what is the terrain? That is the environment that allowed the diagnosis, symptoms, the branches to occur. So it's the environment in which the 3 roots live. Roots, soil, terrain, branches. Understand the analogy? So that's my job. I look at the terrain, the factors that contribute to the 3 roots to help create a space of flourishing and nurturing instead of despair and honestly even like death. Like, it doesn't have to be that extreme, but unfortunately a lot of conditions can be, and the traditional medicine and Western medicine is not trained in nutrition. They have a little bit of nutrition training, but they are just not equipped, and it's not in their scope. And so we can't expect that of them, to know as much as a dietitian or a nutritionist or a functional medicine or a functional nutrition doctor would, or counselor would. And so that's where we need to work together, because sometimes medicine and surgery is absolutely necessary and is beneficial and can save lives. And they've gone very far in their research. And sometimes we need to get to the root of what's going on, and we don't need medication, we don't need surgery, or sometimes we need both at the same time. So my job is to help people by looking at their story and by looking at the physiology to better understand what skills they need to apply and look at what skills they're already applying that are working, and so playing to people's strengths, and really taking the time to do a very thorough assessment and understand what's going on, so that we can give recommendations that are going to be beneficial and unique to that multifactorial bio-individual. So if this was a little bit sciencey and like some terms that you're like, what does that mean to be multifactorial? A lot of it, like if you break it down, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I don't want to assume people know something if they don't, because every question is a good question in my book. But that's a little bit about what functional nutrition is, and I would love to get connected with you if you have something that you're working through and you want a different perspective. Take my quiz and we can kind of see what's going on.